eBay built one of the earliest global online marketplaces by connecting millions of buyers and sellers without holding inventory. Its model scaled through listings, auctions, and network effects that increased value as participation grew. For years, this system defined how online commerce operated across multiple categories. Then, buyer expectations shifted toward speed, simplicity, and immediate purchase. Auctions became less relevant as fixed pricing replaced discovery-based transactions. Competitors offered faster checkout, consistent quality, and integrated fulfillment. Sellers moved to platforms where conversion rates were higher and operations more predictable. Traffic growth slowed as user behavior changed across mainstream categories. The system still functions, but its relevance is now under pressure. As internet adoption expanded in the late 1990s, eBay established itself as a platform where individuals could transact directly without centralized inventory. The auction format allowed prices to be determined dynamically based on demand, creating a unique discovery-driven experience. Buyers engaged in competitive bidding, while sellers benefited from potential upside on high-demand items. Low operational overhead enabled the platform to scale rapidly across categories and regions. Network effects strengthened as more users joined, increasing liquidity and transaction activity. Trust systems such as seller ratings and feedback mechanisms supported reliability in peer-to-peer transactions. Global expansion allowed cross-border trade, increasing product variety and market reach. The platform enabled long-tail commerce, including rare, used, and niche items not easily available elsewhere. The system became a decentralized marketplace built on participation and discovery. As e-commerce adoption accelerated through the 2000s and into the early 2010s, eBay's marketplace expanded with increasing user participation and listing volume. More sellers established recurring businesses on the platform, relying on consistent traffic to generate sales. Fixed price listings were introduced alongside auctions, gradually shifting the model toward immediate purchase options. Transaction volume increased as buyers preferred faster purchasing without waiting for auction completion. Cross-border commerce expanded, enabling sellers to reach international buyers with minimal infrastructure. Revenue grew through transaction fees and listing-related charges tied to marketplace activity. Brand recognition strengthened as eBay became associated with online buying and selling across multiple categories. The platform continued scaling, supported by growing internet penetration and consumer adoption. The system expanded, but it was beginning to shift away from its original auction-driven identity. As the marketplace matured, eBay refined its monetization model to increase revenue from seller activity and platform visibility. Transaction fees were adjusted to capture value from completed sales across categories. Promoted listings were introduced, allowing sellers to pay for higher visibility in search results. Search algorithms were updated to prioritize relevance, pricing, and seller performance. Seller tools improved listing management, inventory tracking, and performance analytics. Payments were integrated to streamline transactions and increase control over the checkout process. Operational costs remained relatively low due to the asset-light marketplace structure. Revenue became increasingly dependent on transaction volume and seller engagement. The system appeared efficient, but it relied on sustained activity across both buyers and sellers. As buyer expectations evolved, the marketplace experience began lagging behind platforms that prioritized speed, consistency, and reliability. Auctions became less relevant for everyday purchases, where immediate checkout was preferred. Shipping times varied widely since fulfillment remained the responsibility of individual sellers. Product quality and listing accuracy were inconsistent across categories, reducing buyer confidence. Search results often included mixed quality listings, making product discovery less efficient. At the same time, competitors offered standardized experiences with faster delivery and clearer expectations. Returns, refunds, and customer support were handled less uniformly compared to integrated platforms. Buyers increasingly chose convenience over discovery, shifting behavior towards simpler purchasing flows. The system remained active, but its user experience was becoming a structural weakness. As competition intensified through the 2010s and into the post-2020 period, buyer traffic increasingly shifted toward platforms offering faster and more predictable transactions. Amazon set the standard for fulfillment speed, integrating logistics directly into the purchasing experience. At the same time, Shopify enabled brands to build direct-to-consumer channels with full control over pricing and customer relationships. Sellers began prioritizing platforms where conversion rates were higher and operations were more streamlined. eBay's marketplace lost share in mainstream categories where convenience and reliability became primary decision factors. Auction-based differentiation provided limited advantage in environments dominated by fixed pricing. Traffic growth slowed relative to competitors, even as overall e-commerce continued expanding. The value proposition weakened for everyday purchases, particularly in commoditized product segments. The system reached a point where convenience-driven competition directly challenged its relevance. As this shift became persistent, eBay accelerated changes to reposition the platform around more predictable buying experiences. Fixed-price listings were prioritized over auctions to align with current purchasing behavior. Managed payments were introduced to gain greater control over transactions and reduce friction at checkout. Search and recommendation systems were updated to improve relevance and conversion rates. Focus shifted toward categories such as collectibles, refurbished goods, and second-hand items, where differentiation remained stronger. Advertising through promoted listings became a more significant revenue contributor. Seller standards were tightened to improve consistency across listings and reduce buyer uncertainty. Operational discipline remained focused on maintaining an asset-light structure rather than building fulfillment infrastructure. The system adapted, but these changes reflected a forced repositioning rather than organic evolution. As these adjustments took effect through 2023 and 2024, eBay began stabilizing its activity around categories where its model remained competitive. Collectibles, refurbished goods, and secondary markets continued attracting engaged buyers and specialized sellers. Transaction volume held more stable in these segments compared to broader retail categories. Revenue growth remained modest, supported by fees and increased contribution from advertising products. However, the platform's role in mainstream e-commerce continued to diminish relative to integrated competitors. User activity persisted, but it became more concentrated rather than broadly distributed across categories. Operational structure remained efficient, but growth potential was more limited within its repositioned scope. The marketplace retained relevance, but it was increasingly defined by niche strength rather than overall dominance. eBay stabilized within a narrower role, while its broader model continues to operate under relevance pressure.